Welcome, viewers. Welcome to another edition of Janet. Well, the ops indoor continues to be on pause, and our attention now veers towards the east, where we look at Bangladesh and Myanmar. In fact, Bangladesh was the original problem area for India. And then, in between what is happening in Bangladesh, Pahalgam happened. And Pahalgam took away all our attention. But now that Pahalgam has been sorted out, we now turn towards Bangladesh again. A lot of water has flown down the Padma, or shall I say the Ganga and the Brahmaputra, and things have changed immensely in Bangladesh. Yunus doesn't seem to have a similar hold on power as he had maybe a couple of months later. The Bangladeshi army chief is on the war part, so to say. I here also welcome our strategic affairs expert, Colonel Alice Bist, with whom we will discuss Bangladesh in detail. Hi, Alice, how are you?
Hi, Rajiv. I'm absolutely fine.
Your opening remarks on the things happening in Bangladesh.
Rajiv, Bangladesh is in a very tumultuous situation as of date. The interim uh, caretaker who is looking after Bangladesh, that is Muhammad Yunus, has suddenly surrounded himself with a lot of radicalized people like the Jamaat, the Hifazat-e-Islam, and he's got a NSA also appointed, who is very close to the people in Pakistan. So he's trying to find out security for himself. While on the other hand, the main player, which is the army, that has gone against him, primarily because he has been selling Bangladesh to the Chinese, to the US. You must have seen a lot of news coming in that Chinese have been invited to construct a barrage in Tista River, and they are also trying to bring in Chinese to establish an airbase in Lal Munir Hat, that is hardly 20 odd kilometers south of the international boundary, very near to our chicken neck. So the army chief, who is related to Sheikh Hasina and also Mujibur Rahman, he has clearly said that this kind of nonsense cannot continue. He has said that what kind of a bloody corridor the US is making. These are his words. So he is very, very categorically against such moves wherein the sovereignty of Bangladesh is being compromised. Now, it is very interesting. There are three main parties in Bangladesh. One is, of course, the Awami League that has been banned, and the other one, which is the which is having the stature of national level, is BNP, and then you have got a highly radicalized Jamaat-e-Islami. So they all have taken a very different view as to what uh, Yusuf is trying. While Awami League is the biggest party and it has got a lot of nationalist sentiment, but they are subdued because uh, Yunus, in his own wisdom and under tutelage of various powers who have implanted him, has come very heavily upon the Awami League people. They have been hunted by radicalized street gangs. So almost 5 crore to 10 crore people of Awami League, they are lying low, but they have not vanished from the country. Bangladesh Nationalist Party, BNP, again, it's not very happy because this chap had come in stating that he will be bringing in a lot of democracy, freedom, but nothing of that sort has happened. The entire industry of Bangladesh has gone defunct. The garment industry, which was the mainstay, is totally finished because they are not getting power, that is electricity. They are not getting raw materials. India was the main supplier. Their road access to take out their finished products, get raw materials, it is totally finished. It has been stopped by India. Their sea route is not economical. So Bangladesh products will never remain competitive in the international market. And not only that, because of the law and order situation, the currency is taking a hit, the food security is taking a hit, there is no security. And initially, the people who were responsible to bring this coup or a change, they were all hooligans. They were some riff-raff student leaders, and they were also members of Jamaat-e-Islami, which is again a political party but highly radicalized. And the brunt was taken by the minorities, the Hindus, the Buddhists, the Christians. A lot of genocide happened. So it has come to a point of inflection right now. The army chief is patient enough, but he was alerted twice, at least twice, by the Indian intelligence agencies that an attempt might be done on his life and also a military coup may happen. So he was smart enough to survive both those attempts on his life. But now it is only a matter of time when he may declare emergency in Bangladesh, which would be a right step. He may install another interim government and he may push for elections by uh, end of this year, that is 2025. Rajiv.
Well, it is fairly evident now that Yunus has been a US plant of the US deep state of the democratic era. US placed there with a purpose to further US interests in the area. In fact, it is said that a lot of US money had got involved in that revolution that overthrew Sheikh Hasina. But now, when Trump came back to power, it was a shock for both Yunus as well as the Democrats and for US plans in that area. Then Yunus tried to play his cards with the Chinese, and you all know how the Chinese deal with these kind of big players. Chinese are merciless, ruthless. They extract all the minerals, they extract all the wealth a country has to provide and exploit it to the fullest and leave it as nothing but a dead carcass. Through it all, the army chief has stayed true to the cause of democracy in a way that he's said that this is a caretaker government and no decisions can be taken by the caretaker. No major security decisions, oblique decisions involving Bangladesh's national security can be taken by this caretaker government. Through it all, we saw the case of Lal Munir Hat. Lal Munir Hat, I am sure, is a red line for India. It is said that Yunus has offered Lal Munir Hat as a base for the Chinese. How do you see Lal Munir Hat playing out? How important is Lal Munir Hat for India's security? Or do you see Chinese elements or even Pakistani elements coming as close to India on the eastern border as Lal Munir Hat? And how will India react to any developments in Lal Munir Hat?
Rajiv, Rajiv, is a red line, a definite red line for India. As we had discussed, that it is hardly 20 kilometers from the international boundary, south of our international boundary, and very close to the chicken neck. It is not only close to the chicken neck, but it is close to our air bases where the modern fighter aircrafts are there. And what happens, just imagine that if they put in their radars that can get the radar signatures of our fighter aircrafts and they can spy on our various resources of the armed forces, the military installations, and this is too close to be to be comfortable. So we use a term in uh, uh, line of actual control or line of control, wherein we say that it's a fit case for improving our defensive posture. Improving of defense IDF or IDP is nothing but improving of defensive posture means that you gradually take these kind of threats which are emanating across the LAC, LOC, or the border and neutralize it and keep it under your control. So I don't know what kind of policy which we will take, but we will definitely take some kind of a decision on this. It is well within the artillery range. It is well within our various weapons. So it definitely should be a red line because crossing this red line means China may establish certain kind of air base wherein it has got P-8 aircrafts that can also spy on the Bay of Bengal and our eastern side of the Indian shores, wherein we have got very important naval installations. So this we should not allow them because they have already got their submarines based in Myanmar and sometimes in Hambantota, Sri Lanka. So if they are having certain bases within Bangladesh, it is going to be a concern for us. So I don't know. On one side, the Chinese have started coming in. Then they are also allowing the Pakistanis to come into Lal Monir Hat. There are three subcontractors who used to work in CPEC, that is China Pakistan Economic Corridor in Pakistan, of Pakistani origin. They were seen here in Lal Monir Hat region to rebuild this airbase. So, presence of ISI, Pakistan, and all these things which this Mohammed Yunus is facilitating is not good. I am at a loss. How can a nation bring two adversaries together in their own territory, that is the Chinese as well as the US, which are supposedly trying to oppose each other, how are they playing inside one sovereign nation? So we have to look at it as to how these two people who are at loggerheads operating simultaneously. The US has also got its boots on ground in the St. Martin Island, Cox's Bazar, and Chittagong area wherein they are trying to build a corridor involving the Rohingyas. They are very, very sympathetic to Rohingyas. So it is just a matter of time before the Americans start asking the Bangladeshi authorities for a place for Rohingyas to get established. And what better than Chittagong area, wherein the Buddhists, who were 80%, have been chased out. And now they are only 5% left of Rakhine origin. So it's an alarming situation. I believe from the Indo-Pacific fleet, the Americans also tried to get some big ships near the St. Martin Island, but they were unable to do that because the depth of the port out there is not good. So maybe a lot of dredging efforts would be required. Uh, it is wait and watch right now, Rajiv.
So we'll come to St. Martin's Island subsequently in the course of our discussions. But before we proceed further, let's have a look at the broad political picture emerging in Bangladesh. Traditionally, Bangladesh had two parties, the Awami League and the Bangladesh Nationalist Party, the BNP. Then now we see the Jamaat Islami also coming up in a big way, mostly involving radical elements of Bangladeshi society. The Army League has gone into hibernation after having received all kinds of assaults on its political hierarchy from the Bangladeshi state. In fact, Yunus has been headlong in his pursuit against the Awami League. He has shown no remorse in the course of his actions against the Awami League. How do you see the Bangladeshi political map landscape panning out now? And with this, would you like to comment on the emergence of the Jamaat Islami? Jamaat Islami has always been there in Bangladeshi society, but it's for the first time now they are trying to come into the mainstream. Your comments?
Yes, Rajiv, I would like to take you to some amount of history as to what is Jamaat-e-Islami and how was it kept in leash by Sheikh Hasina. Awami League and Sheikh Hasina are proud people and they were friendly towards India. This is what was irking the lot of powers in the world because till the time Sheikh Hasina and Awami League were there, it was not possible for them to intrude into Bangladesh. So, like the Middle East and a lot of other places, the so-called powers used the radical Islam. Jamaat-e-Islami is a very, very old party. It is pre-independence organization. There was one chap known as Maududi who established Jamaat-e-Islami in South Asia, primarily undivided India, in 1941. And his ideals were that he wanted a Islamic caliphate sort of a thing, a country which should run on Islamic values and all those things. But he got a jolt in 1947 when India got divided, and he was marginalized in uh, East Pakistan, although he got a foothold in West Pakistan. And Jamaat-e-Islami has got a lot of say in West Pakistan, especially after it became a Islamic nation in 1986 under General Zia. But in East Pakistan, because of the deep cultural ties with Bengal, their language, and other things, Jamaat-e-Islami could not have much of a foothold. But it came into prominence in the Liberation War of 1971 when Jamaat-e-Islami was actively helping the West Pakistani forces and also contributing towards a lot of atrocities on local Bangladeshis, both Hindus, Muslims, and other minorities. These people had two offshoots. I think one was Badr al-Badr, and other was al-Sham. These two organizations, they trained, and their primary aim was to carry out genocide. Under the military rule, they were allowed to carry weapons, and these two cadres helped kidnap women, mostly non-Muslim, but Muslim women also were kidnapped and brought into the army camps wherein they were gang raped and kept as sex slaves. So these all kind of activities Jamaat-e-Islami was involved in, and they were also involved in killings. So it was almost 3 million, that is 30 lakh people perished in the liberation war, and 2 to 4 lakh women were raped, which were never accepted by the society there. So the once in 1971, Pakistan lost this war, and Mujibur Rahman became the first prime minister. So he brought in a lot of reforms in justice and secularism and other democratic values. So he banned these kind of radical Islamic organizations like Jamaat-e-Islami, and he also took action against people who had committed war crimes. So Jamaat-e-Islami was totally banned and it was hunted. But what happened is in 1975, Mujibur Rahman, along with his family, was totally butchered and murdered. And also, four uh, successors or potential successors were also assassinated. And in 1977, General Ziaur Rahman came in a coup. So he wanted some kind of consolidation, and he gave a lot of relevance to Jamaat-e-Islami. And then he ruled with an iron hand, and Bangladesh gave a foothold to Jamaat-e-Islami. Now, when Sheikh Hasina again came in, there were again coups, and then again BNP, Khalida Zia came in. But the rule of Sheikh Hasina was the longest, in which she was hanging these radical Islamists, and she was very successful in getting the highest growth rate in GDP, in business, and with close ties with India. She was doing very well. So she had to be removed. And such a concoction which we see under Muhammad Yunus is essentially with the help of radical Islamists. And Jamaat-e-Islami is playing a very, very important role. They want the ISI within Pakistan. They want amendment in the constitution. They want foreign players inside, and it will be a total chaos if they are not checked right now. So I believe a lot of churning is taking place, and the Chief of Army Staff, Waqaruzzaman, will be a major player who can bring in this change. We have to wait and see. Rajiv.
Yeah, as far as I can see, the Awami League remains India's best bet, but now it's gone into hibernation. The next bet for India seems to be the Army chief. Army is a national organization as far as Bangladesh is concerned. Then we have the BNP. BNP has traditionally been an anti-India party, but recently we have seen it soften its stand towards India. It seeks to develop more ties with the government of India as well as the Indian nation. And so, in an election, assuming that an election is held in by December, which the army has demanded Yunus to conduct, assuming whom do you see as coming back into power in Bangladesh?
It's too early right now to comment on this particular thing. There is a struggle going on, and it will be very, very important to see. Now, there are a lot of closed door tariff discussions between the US and China. There are a number of indicators in the Middle East, in Pakistan, Turkey, and also some direct deals with China, which the US is undertaking. You see, US is not a homogeneous entity as of date. There is a power struggle between the president, who is a flamboyant person and quite erratic, but he is doing good as far as economics is concerned, save for the tariff war in which he may lose big time because their MNCs are losing a lot of customers because of the tariffs. Their competitiveness is going because of the tariffs. There is a lot of turmoil because raw material which is coming over has stopped. The Chinese have stopped sending the rare earth minerals. So there is a lot of churning taking place. The State Department is differing from the presidential diktats, and also their MNCs, the multinational corporations like the Apple and other multinationals, even Boeing, they are trying to go out from the United States because they are losing their edge. And the European Union is also gearing up to make their own defense industries and not to depend on the USA. So now it has to be seen. Time will only tell whether the US is having some kind of underhand deal with the Chinese globally and in particular in Bangladesh. So if that is happening, then it is going to be a very difficult time for India. It is time that we started engaging with all the parties. You can't sit on a high horse that we will not negotiate with an illegal government or a non-state entity. It is a time when Hayat al-Sham takes over Syria, gets legitimacy, and now is getting funds in Syria. Even President Trump has endorsed, he has removed all the sanctions. So it's a very, very volatile world in which things are changing. So you asked me a question as to who will win this election. Now, all will depend, like if Awami League gets revived, it has to be revived through the help of India and the army chief. So BNP would not have any problems. And Jamaat Islami is also opposing the Yunus actions because they see the United States as a Satan, because it is described in their book that the United States is an evil force. So he is also opposing the access of United States into Bangladeshi territory, in which I believe three divisions in the Chittagong sector, Cox's Bazar area, were to help the United States. So a lot of churning is taking place. Very, very difficult to say right now whether Awami League would be unleashed, the ban would be removed, what would be the stance of BNP, and how the radical Islamists are going to yield space because they have gotten a lot of ISI advisors from Pakistan. It would be interesting, only time will tell. Raji.
Yeah, of course, it is too early to talk about the outcome of the Bangladeshi elections. Although in December, the army is pressing hard for it in December. UNIS is still holding on to a deadline somewhere between December to June, which is not presently not acceptable to both the BNP as well as the army. Well, in the midst of all this, the Assam Chief Minister has also moved into the debate. He's waded into the debate by mentioning two chicken neck situations for Bangladesh. One bordering Siliguri, the Siliguri corridor of India, and the second one referring to the Chittagong area, which he says, which according to him is even smaller than India's chicken neck in the northeast, connecting northeast from Bengal. He expressed for some military action by India to neutralize these two chicken neck situations in Bangladesh. Is it militarily possible for India to act upon, or what are your thoughts on this?
Actually, you see, there are two places wherein we can have access to the Bay of Bengal. One is through Tripura, and another one is through Mizoram. And Mizoram, we are already having an access which has been allowed by the Arakan army, that is Sitwe, Kaladan, connecting Mizoram. As far as military action is concerned, we have adequate amount of resources, and it won't be very difficult for India either to take on the Rangpur area or even the uh, uh, small portion which has to be annexed to get to Bay of Bengal from Tripura. So militarily, it is very much possible. But this window of opportunity, according to me, is going to shut very fast. Firstly, there are a lot of international players which are stepping in. Probably they have already sensed that this kind of activity can take place. So you find the Chinese in the north, in Tista Barrage and Lalmonirhat, while the Americans have already stepped in a big way. So whether these people will allow this kind of a thing, or probably India must be diplomatically in touch with both of these people. So we'll have to see what stance they are taking. If there are big players around and they are consolidating, then if this time is lost, then it won't be possible militarily for India to take on any of these, either Rangpur or Chittagong. But if we commit our troops, it is a very different story because the present government cannot have any reversal in military due to any reason. So it has got more of political connotation, whether the government will take such a risk for such a thing or wait and watch and let the international players play their cards and enter subsequently. So it is a matter of time. It is not a matter of capability. Capability, yes, but whether that kind of a risk-taking appetite is there within the government with 240 seats, it is to be seen. Rajiv.
As far as Rangpur is concerned, in my opinion, I think Lalmonihar should remain the trigger. If Mohammad Yunus goes ahead with developing the Chinese interest or the Pak ISI interest in Lalmonihar, India will be triggered into action. As far as Chittagong is concerned, that area remains a highly interesting conundrum. You had mentioned earlier about the Arakan army. They have their areas of interest in and around that area, in the Rakhine State area of Myanmar. We are coming to the end of our, we're coming towards the end of our discussions. I will now like you to touch upon the evolving situation in Myanmar vis-a-vis Bangladesh and the presence of US troops, like you had mentioned earlier. And in what way is the Arakan army going to influence events bordering Bangladesh?
If we go into Myanmar, Rajiv, it would be a longish discussion because Myanmar
So
is a very,
basically, I'd
very
like you
complex.
to confine yourself to the situation evolving on the front where the Arakan army is being faced with the Bangladesh military.
Okay, I'll try and cover it in very short time. The United States is trying to build a humanitarian corridor, and that is involving the Rohingyas. Now, Arakan Army is a Buddhist entity, and Buddhists had actually driven out the Rohingyas because they were not behaving there. Uh, and Rohingyas are very comfortable inside Bangladesh. The military junta, which is ruling or so-called rulings in some patches in the Myanmar, had offered at one stage of time under international pressure to bring in the Rohingyas. They refused. They said that we are quite happy where we are. Now, with the US stepping in and creating a huge hue and cry and a narrative that Rohingyas need to be accommodated, Arakan army, which is very strong and they've got a history. Actually, Arakan army uh, dates back to 554 BC when Gautam Buddha had gone to these areas and Buddhism spread there, which included the Arakan or Rakhine state, the Paletwa, which is there in the Sitwe Kaladan corridor, then portions of Bangladesh, Chittagong, all these places were under the various Buddhist kings. So it is nothing new. These Arakan people are fighting there to retain their culture and identity, which is under threat. And actually, somewhere they fought the Mughals, they lost to them. Then later on, they fought the Anglo-Burmese war, they fought the British, they lost. And these people tried to repress them. But from 1948 onwards, the Burmese rule is there on these people, and under the military junta and other forces, they have been subjected to a lot of uh, genocides and lot of cruelties against them, and their culture is under threat. So the Arakan army is very spirited army, and they have got a force of 30 odd thousand. There are various islands which are contiguous to the shoreline, which they are not able to actually control because they don't have any naval force in integral to their part. And also, the military junta is using a lot of air power against them. You see, they've got a lot of Chinese JF 17C, then other Chengdu aircrafts are there, fighter aircrafts are there. The Russians have given them six Su-30 fighter aircrafts, especially to the junta. The last two arrived in Mandalay, Mektila airport. Mektila, as we all know, is a company in IMA and OTA. So these are last two Su-30 arrived in Mektila, and they are using these airplanes against the ethnic armed groups, organizations like Arakan Army. So, although Arakan Army has got a substantial amount of force on the ground, they have got the spirit. They also control the areas. They are friendly towards India. But once the US comes in, they will try to split Arakan army into two, some kind of divide and rule and get a corridor by which they will reach either Mandalay or Lashio. Mandalay is almost central Myanmar, and Lashio is north east of the region of Myanmar. And from those places, they may try to make their military base, air bases, which by virtue of which they will not only try to finish the CMEC as they have done uh, s- for CPEC. CMEC is the China Myanmar Economic Corridor, and they will also try to control the Golden Triangle. Golden Triangle is nothing but a juncture wherein the international boundaries of Myanmar, Laos, and Thailand meet. And there is a lot of illegal activities that are going on there. So, if we have time, then I can go on because in doing so, the Americans would be fighting not only the military junta but hundreds of ethnic armed organizations that are in control of various portions of Myanmar. One of the major ethnic armed organization is Arakan Army. Then you've got some ethnic armed organizations in Chin State. And then in the Northeast, the biggest one is MNDAA, Myanmar National Democratic Alliance Army. which has not only fought against the junta, military junta, in an operation known as Operation 1027. Our audience can go and search in the Google. They will find out that this was a major operation in which the MNDAA was successful in defeating the military junta, and they controlled almost 250 camps, military camps, and 9 townships. Very difficult to announce those townships, but they are in control. The major township being Lashu. So it will be interesting to see how America goes in and cuts off the uh, CMAC there. But also they will be uh, trying to control India from there, because India was having aspirations to build a highway up to Thailand first and later on up to Vietnam. So they will not only cut off the Chinese, take a lot of mineral wealth, rare earth minerals, which the Chinese are mining ruthlessly, not keeping in mind any environmental issues, and refining it and also sending it to the Americans. So they have stopped giving the rare earth minerals. That is why the American goods are there in Bangladesh, meant for CMEC in China. Now this CMEC is running from Yunnan up to a Kyofu port, which our audiences can see that Kyofu is not very far away from Sitwe. So that is under threat, and the Chinese are actually protecting it by employing the private security forces, which are nothing but the PLA. So Chinese are being threatened out there, and this particular area is of interest to the world because there is a Golden Triangle Special Economic Zone (GTSEZ), which has been controlled by
In fact,
the gangsters.
yeah, you have brought out very pertinent points in this discussion. When Myanmar can be a topic of discussion by itself, and we can see the great game, the classical Cold War game, only this time involving USA and China, likely to be played out in the fields of Myanmar. This will be a very tragic situation for a beautiful country. I believe even the Russians are getting involved in Myanmar. Mm, we are running out of time.
Yes, the
I
Russians.
just like you to sum up the Russian presence, and I promise our viewers that we will again come back with a full-fledged program on Myanmar.
The Russians are very much there. As I told you, that Su-30 has come in. They have provided attack helicopter gunships. They have provided them with AD guns, and there is a port known as